In this episode of I Publish Repeat, we're framing 2025 with Sean's Word of the Year. We look back at stuff we enjoyed in 2024, and I talk about two extremely popular movies of the 80s that everybody loved, except me, of course.
Write, publish, repeat, it echoes through the air. A chorus for creators, a call to those who dare. With cookies as his compass and a pen that won't retreat, he journeys through the pages. Write, publish, repeat.
Hello and welcome to Write, Publish, Repeat, the first episode of 2025. And I'm here with Sean Platt, my co-host, Sean Platt, no longer guest.
You say that with such glee.
I won. Thank you.
You did win.
Although I didn't really win because I'm still talking way too much. If you could just take over and just be yourself and just 90% of the conversation, I can just kind of lean back and make stupid comments. That would be perfect.
This is your battle plan, just to be clear. It's always just wear me down.
It is.
Wear me down until I acquiesce.
It's how to win your marriage.
Are you ever going to write the book How to Win Your Marriage?
After I've won. You can't write the book as a winner if you haven't won yet.
I actually think it's funnier if you write it as the loser.
Yeah, well. All right, so today's show, we are talking about Sean's Word of the Year and what's coming up in 2025 for us. And Sean always does a Word of the Year. It allows him to focus on, the priority for that year and shares it with the company. It becomes the company-wide Word of the Year. We all have to get it tattooed on some part of our body, except Sean. He doesn't do it. So I have
it looks like the dude from Memento. If you take his shirt off, it's like iterate, optimize, publish.
So what tattoo will I be getting this year, Sean?
Okay, well, I imagine most people listening to this don't know the word of the year for 2024. So the word of the year for 2024 was generation. And I meant that in a lot of ways. So not only do I pick a word, I spend a while reflecting on the word. And this word I usually get it around early December. I start thinking around it around Thanksgiving. And I know it's a little cheesy, I get that. But it's also proven itself increasingly powerful over time. And really, it's stupid if you just think of the word and then forget about it by February. If you treat it like most people treat New Year's resolutions, right? I'm going to go to the gym every day starting January 1st. Hey, Dave, remember Blog to Fit?
Wow. Way to throw that back up.
So it's very easy to make a lot of goals. And I do that too. I do make goals. But goals that you make in November or December, especially when we move as fast as we do and things are as much in flux as they tend to be, it's great to start with goals, but they atrophy over time. And I feel like a word it can be a North Star. It's something that you can actually focus on and follow. In fact, focus was one of the words one year, and it was a very focused year because you constantly come back and ask yourself, is the behavior that I'm doing now, is it honoring the word? Is it honoring the North Star? And a lot of times it's not. And you can really tell yourself. So generation was a word that I meant it in many ways. I meant it, and that's another thing. I like to pick words that are layered, that they don't mean just one thing. And with generation, it did have something to do with AI, like generative AI. I wanted to not use it to generate prose, but to generate a lot of prototypes to see what kinds of variations ideas could have. And can I make images for book covers faster? One of my favorite little chatbots that I built early in 2024 was, I called it the posterizer. And it would basically read these synopses and then make 3 different posters. And and none of the posters were good enough to be the end book cover or the end poster for that piece of IP, but we could pass them to Dan, our art director at Sterling and Stone, and the concept that we could get on a 1.0 from ChatGPT was more than enough to give him the raw material to make a phenomenal looking cover. So it's about doing things that allow me to express myself creatively in different ways and save a lot of time doing it. But also the generation of just content. I knew that this was going to be a huge content year that I needed to generate because I was going to be generating a lot of leads for our ghosting wing that we were starting, because we not only wanted the ghosting for, to cover a lot of overhead, but any ghostwriting jobs that we get, I mean, there's between the two companies, Story Merchants and Sterling and Stone, there's 50 storytellers. So a lot of them are like loving extra ghosting work. You loved getting some ghosting work. So it's like generating leads, generating the actual content. I wanted to generate a lot of content going into 2024, and I did. So I don't have my whole list here, but there's something like 300 story ideas with a beginning, a middle, and an end that I submitted into Sterling and Stone. I wish I knew how many books. I should be more prepared, but I think I wrote maybe 10 books this year. I wrote 26 short stories. I was going to write one every single week of the year, but I got to the last week of June. I was like, fuck it, I can't keep up anymore. I generated a couple of scripts, outlines, and just a lot of experimentation. The word generation gave me an excuse to experiment, and I really wanted to experiment, and it was great for that. And an important play on generation also was that Sterling and Stone was growing up, and it was time for us to go from one generation to the next, and we are ready for a different iteration of the company. And I knew that was happening in the best possible ways, but I didn't really know how it would manifest. And that's the cool thing about a word too, is that you pay attention to it, and then you see what kinds of opportunities it illuminates. And in June, Neve became CEO of the company, and Shet became COO of the company, and I became founder of the company, which not only led to a very decisive new generation for Sterling and Stone, but also it allowed for me to found Story Merchants and a whole new generation of the way I do business. And that's really cool. So thinking about this year, I wanted to take a lot of what was really positive about this year, because there was so much of it, and fold it into next year. But I was also thinking in terms of, this is a victory lap 2025. Like, I'm really, really looking forward to so many things that we kind of teed up in 2024 that we can now really explore. And so I'm thinking in terms of like rebirth and resurrection and profitability. Like, we've set things up. And
is that a word for the year, profit?
well, no, but it does inform the word. Like, I'm never going to be a guy who picks profit as his number one motivator at all. But I have definitely stepped into, for 2025, I do want profitability to be a part of my art, which I'm not always focused on. I tend to be very focused on the idea and the experience. And I think that I need to fold in profitability, because I have two companies kind of, like, I can't just be the wild, like, manic Doc Brown this year. Like, I need to be
the manic pixie dream boy.
Yeah, I need to be dialed in and make sure that both companies are profitable before I can afford to get wild again. Any guesses on what the word is?
A responsibility.
No, but you've got one of the sounds in there. So everybody listening, Dave actually hasn't heard this yet. We were talking about the word right before we started recording and decided to do it live. Dave would have heard it if he was at the Sterling and Stone company meeting on Tuesday when it was officially unveiled. But
yeah, that occurs during the daytime, and you're lucky to get me twice a week up in the day. Why don't you go ahead and tell me? Otherwise, we will be here for all day.
Okay, I'll give you one more hint and see if
you Mr. Kidders.
I did feel like I was cheating. So I had this word for, I want to say 2 weeks, and I didn't even tell Cindy, who is always the first person to hear the word. And I didn't tell her.
You have a whole ceremony, like, where you unveil it?
Well, it is something that is a little bit romantic also. Like, picking a word and treasuring that word for a year is, I mean, it's something that used to, it's like, remember when...
You're so hippie, bro. You're so...
Well, dude, do you remember? Oh shit! I lost my train of thought. Oh, do
Today's
you remember with Sterling and Stone's
word.
birthday? Right, we celebrate that on July 17th. Do you
Yeah.
remember what I used to call it before it was
Rolling
actually?
Stone Day?
No, I used to call it my stupid internet anniversary
Oh, okay.
because it was July 17th is when Writer Dad started. I met you like 2 weeks after that, and it's just kind of the day. It's not officially Sterling and Stone's birthday, actually. I don't even know when Sterling and Stone's birthday is, but Sterling and Stone really is my first internet baby of substance. And I assigned that day, and it went from being my stupid internet anniversary. And Johnny was one of the first people actually who I used to call it that. And he's like, dude, don't call it that. Own it. That's awesome that you celebrate that. That's fucking rad. And that's when it became Sterling and Stone's birthday, when I owned the date. And owning the word has been, it's been helpful. It's been helpful for the company. It's been helpful for my family. It's been helpful for me personally and spiritually, to use like probably a big word for this, but it is a compass for me. So last hint, it is, I felt cheap using this word. Like I was doing a cop out. Like it was just like a sequel word, like electric boogaloo.
Repeat?
No, but what is the word for generation to electric boogaloo? What would that be?
Two?
Regeneration.
Jesus.
So the word of the year for 2025 is regeneration. And I mean that in all the ways. It is about being
Are we
profitable.
all cutting off limbs to see if they regenerate?
No.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
yes, actually. Old limbs of like we did that a lot in the last couple of years, like taking business practices that were just kind of legacy behaviors and cutting them off and saying we just because we did something in 2014 doesn't mean it works in 2024 or 2017 or
Like
2019.
offensive ad reads.
Right. Offensive ad reads don't fly the same way. And I've noticed that we haven't once talked about dogging the queen, except for me just saying it right then.
Wow. Way to go.
Things aren't always great when you just carry them over from year to year, but you don't really notice it. So yes, we did hack a lot of stuff, and that's what's awesome about going into 2025. Over the last 2 years, we've done so much hard work to kind of clean things up, and we're really lean compared to how we used to operate and nimble. And I'm really excited about regenerating my fiction, because I haven't really put a lot of attention into my fiction. I've constantly wrote fiction, but I haven't gone out there to market it. I put all the other storytellers and Sterling and Stone as a whole first. And what, dude, I didn't even notice this. I don't know if we've talked about this, but I noticed earlier this year, so when Johnny left, he took his list, right? I mean, he didn't take it. We gave him his list, and
Fuck y'all, I'm out of here.
right. And then we came to this point where I'm like, oh, well, yeah, some of those readers would totally follow me onto another list too. So we had to like put one offer on his list to move some people over to my list. And that's when I first started offering Americana, which is a book that hard to sell on Amazon, but really cool. And so, perfect cookie. And I realized for the first time, I don't even have a list, dude. I started a publishing company. I've been writing for, 15 years, writing fiction for a dozen years. I don't have a list.
Wow.
Johnny and I had a list, and you and I have a list. I didn't have a list. So I started my first list in 2024. So regenerating my old catalog and getting back out there with it and regenerating a lot of old ideas, are really bubbled up to the surface. And I'm thinking, oh, how would we take that old idea out into the world? And we actually already started this at the end of the year. Write, Publish, Repeat. This podcast is regenerative. We had this old asset, and it was like, how do we put this back out into the world? And we accelerated it because we wanted it to be live before Author Nation. But think about how many things in our sphere across the two different companies there already are that exist that we could put some. We don't need to always generate new things. We could regenerate old stuff. And I feel like this is going to be a really regenerative year, and we're going to be healthier and stronger and move faster because of the last couple of years.
So are we going to do like remakes of all of our books and just
Yes, we're gonna
No
do the
new
Taylor
ideas.
Swift
Just
thing. We're just gonna rewrite
rewrite.
them
Yeah.
word for word,
Remaster, as the video game industry calls it.
re-put them out. So yeah, we will remaster. They're gonna be our books are now in 4K.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, that is a good word. I think it is cheating when you go to the tattoo artist because just could you add the RE and they're gonna be like, why?
Yeah, but
And
aren't
have
you
to
gonna
do
be
the-
happier with less time in the tattoo chair and less pain?
No, I like pain. I focus on the pain. It's the only thing that reminds me I'm alive.
A serious question: are you ever gonna get a tattoo?
There's a couple I've wanted to get. Years ago, I was going to get one with my best friend when we were growing up. We are going to get the Queensryche Tri-Reich logo. I'm glad.
Oh my God! I wish you had that.
Well, you know what? Since he passed away, I would not be embarrassed by it because, it was symbolic of a special time and friendship that is gone. However, if I had just gotten it on my own, I would totally be embarrassed by that.
How many people do you think are really sad right now with their Dave Matthews Band tattoos?
I don't think the people that love Dave Matthews have regrets.
You don't think they just?
I don't think they live with any regrets at all. I think they live life on a different level, enjoy it, and more people should be like that.
Wow, I've never heard that from you before. That's amazing.
But I've thought of getting a couple of them. One, I could get my son's name, although he doesn't really like tattoos, so that would probably be like stupid. I've thought of getting either Snoopy or Calvin and Hobbes, or
I could see you
even
with either of those.
my
I could
comic.
even see you getting Calvin doing Snoopy. I mean, that seems like a
That
big
is
Dave.
disturbing. Shut your mouth.
Is it more
Get
disturbing
Snoopy
than
out of
the
here.
picture you drew of my mom at?
I get that one, yeah. And the other thing I thought of was getting like just the word create. Because that is my word, not of the year, but in general.
In life.
Yes.
So, what are you looking forward to this year? How will regeneration apply to you?
Well, I've cut off everything, so I'm basically a stump now, and I'm going to regrow everything. Now, I'm looking forward to creating, obviously. I'm looking forward to, doing the show and the stuff we're doing with the repeaters list and all of that. I'm looking forward to, like, creating and sort of having that community, and I feel like that back in 2011 we were just starting and doing this, like we were each other's community and kind of pushed each other to do better. And I think this
I remember when you pushed me to do better.
now I just push you off the train. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and also I want to write my fantasy story. I don't know if that'll happen this year or not.
Serious question. So you do seem so much more, I don't know, like happy doing the show. It doesn't feel like I'm dragging you into it like it did for the first 5 minutes. So is that like, are you just doing a great job being present because you know that's what you're supposed to do? Or is it as genuine as it seems that you're like really are excited about all of this that we're doing?
I am excited. I think there's a lot less, I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. Like when I feel like there's just so much out of my control, everything is just stressful, and everything added is new stress. And I feel like I'm in a bit more control of my situation now, and I have direct input on the show. I'm not like just showing up and, hey guys, what are we gonna do today?
Yeah, to clarify, I should be having direct input instead of the other way around. You don't have direct input. You should be organizing all of this. You guys, we came on the show and Dave's like, so are you ready? Like, what are we talking about?
Well, this is your topic, man. This is
No, we had to do the word of the so everybody, we were saying hello to 2025, and it was, what are we expecting this year? Well, you don't you as the host don't have any like notes or anything. Great, let's just talk about the word of the year. That could be the anchor to the conversation. So later this year, are we going to regenerate? Are we going to have show notes going forward ahead of ahead.
Yes, and we had show notes for past episodes. We just didn't, because this one was like a surprise episode. We're doing it like December 20th.
Wait. How is this a
There
surprise
wasn't there
episode?
wasn't originally going to be another one. Like when we talked last week, that was it. We weren't going to do another one until January. I thought maybe I
You
got it
are
wrong.
smoking crack. I didn't want to jump back and be on. Okay, those of you at home listening,
Our
we
first
did
fight
not,
of the year.
by we, I mean me. I did not want to let you down by not having our first episode of the week. And I also didn't want to come back and have a fire drill, and all of a sudden Avery has to drop everything, they're doing to get
Yeah.
the website up. So it was always we were going to record the first one of the year.
Well, it wasn't okay. Well, it wasn't originally on the calendar, and it just showed up like 2 days ago. I was
Okay,
like,
that's
oh.
true. That's true. That's
And I
true
wrote by the
fair.
calendar. I forget everything unless it's on the calendar. So.
All right, true and fair. I did add it on and just to let everybody know how much I suck here, because you're totally right. I didn't add it on the calendar. I realized, oh my God, we don't have anything on the calendar, and it was like this last couple of weeks, it's like even more meetings than normal because there isn't anything for 2 weeks, and I was like, oh my God, when are we going to put this in? And then yesterday we almost had to bump this, and you were so excited.
Yeah, so yeah, I had put my camera away and everything, so like I was like ready to pack up.
Did you really?
Yeah. I see. So what I'm gonna do in my time off is, well, I got some work I got to finish, but after that, I'm going to, redo my entire office. But to do that, it requires like just moving a whole lot of shit and taking everything apart. So I will be doing that over the next 2 weeks or week and a half, whatever time I have left after I finish the shit I got to do. So.
Is that because with winter break, your family will be more available, so you want to have a project that keeps you
No,
like
it's the only
90% occupied?
no, it's the only time that I have that I'm like not holding up your deadlines or something. So like I feel like, there's a fire that needs to constantly be put out and I can't take too much time to do this or that or whatever. So yes, and I'm also, beholden to other obligations. So
So, is there, beyond creativity, is there any media that you're especially looking forward to in the next year?
Fuck. There is nothing I can remember right now.
Do you have anything?
I haven't watched Arcane season 2 yet, so
I haven't either.
Okay.
Dude, I'm all of a sudden like super. There's a lot of season 2s of things that I need to catch
Severance.
up on. Severance, I cannot wait for. I'm thinking I'm gonna rewatch season 1 over break, but there's just so much stuff I want to watch. You know what I watched? We watched over the last few days that I really loved, and it's kind of funny. I made a video for YouTube for the actual fiction channel. That's my favorite. My 10 of my favorite shows that were fun to talk about of 2024. And the day I finished that, I start watching Disclaimer on Apple. And have you seen this or heard of this?
No, I don't think I've seen this one.
Oh my God, dude. I don't want to say too much because you should watch it. You would very much enjoy it. What I would compare it to, even though it's not like this at all, but it does some of the things that I loved so much about, especially the first season of the show. And we talked about it when it was on The Affair on Showtime.
Okay.
Okay, so it's got some of that, but it's Alfonso Cuarón.
Oh yeah, okay, I do know of this. Okay, yeah.
And it's got Kate Blanchett and Borat. He's not actually Borat, Sacha Baron Cohen, and he's fantastic in it. And it's and Kevin Kline, who I love Kevin Kline. I grew up loving Kevin Kline. I haven't seen
It's
him.
called Wanda.
Yeah, yes.
And he's married to my high school or childhood crush.
Are they still married?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Wow. Hollywood relationships don't last that long typically.
No, but they both seem like very like genuine sort of people, not caught up in all the artifice and stuff.
Yeah,
You didn't hear a lot of shit about either one of them.
Did you ever see Grand Canyon?
I'm sure I did. I don't remember though.
So Grand Canyon it's a Kevin Kline movie, and it was made. I think it came out in '92. It came out right after the LA riots, and it's about racial tension in LA.
Yes, I did.
And it's made by Lawrence Kasdan,
Hmm.
who Kevin Kline's in a bunch of Lawrence Kasdan movies like Silverado and The Big Chill, and Lawrence Kasdan wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark and Empire Strikes Back, and so this was his like, it's a very serious movie, and I've rewatched it. It's actually not nearly as good as I remember, but it came out at that time. I'm 14 years old, maybe 15 years old. Yeah, it doesn't matter. 15. I'm 15 years old, and I'm learning to drive. And the son in it, Roberto, he's learning to drive. And it was just this movie where I felt like, oh my God, I love movies. I love grown-up movies. I love serious movies. I love how arty this is. And Steve Martin's in it, but he's got a beard and he's playing like not a funny guy. And I just loved everything about it. And that is one of those movies that I think, even though I don't think it holds up as like this amazing movie at the time, it's my favorite movie. Like, I left the theater thinking, this is my favorite grown-up movie I've ever seen. And it made me very interested in exploring a lot of other movies that weren't fun, but like were serious. And I just really like that. Anyway, I really like Kevin Kline. And in Disclosure, he plays both himself as like, I want to say maybe a 65-year-old, and then as an 85-year-old. There's two timelines.
Hmm.
And he's exceptional in both timelines. And the story itself is really great. And so it's 7 episodes. It's a limited series. It's 7 episodes. And for the first 6 episodes, I kept saying to Cindy, okay, I'm not going to say what it is, but I had this one problem with it. And I'm like, they need to answer this because I'm getting increasingly irritated by this one thing. And progressively for each episode, I'm more and more agitated by this one thing. And then at the end of the 6th episode, I said, if they don't answer this, then I'm going to be so furious. If you don't answer it, then bravo, I really, really love this series. And not only did they address it, they addressed it in this beautiful, just elegant storytelling way that made me love the first 6 episodes even more. So I highly, highly recommend Disclaimer. It's beautifully shot. It's beautifully acted. It's beautifully written. It's aces.
You mentioned Indiana Jones. I know there's. I wasn't a huge Indiana Jones fan, but I know on Xbox they have.
You told me that, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I just maybe because I had a miserable childhood.
You're also the only person. I mean, Bonnie also hates Goonies, but
Yeah.
Bonnie didn't see it till she was already, a full grown up with very strong opinions on what movies should be and what stories should be. As a kid, how could you not like the Goonies?
Well, I was already grown up as a child, so I already had strong opinions for what things should be. But Indiana Jones, there's a game on Xbox. They actually made a very realistic sort of Uncharted-like game, although
I've
Uncharted
seen,
Pro.
yeah, I've seen clips.
So the reviews of it say, it's as good or better than most of the movies in the series. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't know
That is pretty cool.
but yeah.
Did you see the?
Latest Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
No.
So it just felt like a ride. It felt like the Disney ride at Disneyland, or the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland. It felt like
The long line and not worth it.
it was more about like how they handled all the tropes and the set pieces. And I really like James Mangold, the guy who made it. He made Logan,
Yeah. He's good.
he's great. And it did a lot of things right, but it's almost like when you see an AI generation of something, and I'm not saying it was AI generated at all. I feel like the script was handcrafted, but I think that it has that same thing where it's just a copy instead of, it was almost like an homage to all of the Indiana Jones movies before. And I think a game would actually take some of that away, and because that's an appropriate container for feeling like, oh, this should be an homage. It should feel like all the others. Where
Mhm.
I felt like the first 3, they all felt like they belonged in the same universe, but they were individual experiences. and I felt like that's been kind of lost.
I remember when I actually saw one of the Indiana Jones movies. I don't remember which one it was. It would have been in the
You
early
just remember
90s.
you didn't like it.
No, well, I went with Todd, my best friend who'd passed away. We went
You
to the
almost got a
theaters.
Queensryche tattoo.
Yes. We went to the theater, we watched it. I remember both of us thinking just how ridiculous it was. Like every it was like
Dude, you're dead inside.
the point, like there were horses falling off the mountain, and I was like, watch, those horses are going to like start blowing up. Like everything's just blowing up, and it just made no sense
This is the
whatsoever.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade that you're talking about.
And we both thought the same thing about that movie, just how empty it felt, and just how just I don't know. So that's a taste that left in my mouth.
Oh man, I know I say this a lot, but I feel sorry for you. How do you feel about Dexter coming back with a prequel?
I don't know. I might watch it just to see. I feel like they're beating a dead horse. I mean, the last one was okay. Like I thought, like I was into it
I
until
actually
like
like
near
the
the
last
end.
one. I like the last one.
Yeah, something about the end I didn't care for. I don't remember what it was. I don't know.
Well, the problem with the last one was that things at the end got very, very convenient.
Yeah.
But it was so much better than the finale of the actual show.
Well, yeah, anything is.
Dexter is a weird example because it's one of those shows where the last episode it's obvious where the last episode should have been. I think we agree on this. I think we've talked about this before. Where would you have ended Dexter?
Oh, the season, either the Trinity killing or the one after that. Was that with Jimmy Smits, that one? Because that was one of my favorites.
I would have ended it with the John Lithgow season.
Okay.
The finale of that season had Dexter's wife dead
Right.
in the tub.
Spoiler.
With it's 15 years old. I think I'm okay. What was her name? His wife?
Oh, hell if I remember.
Yeah, was it Rita?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Rita and then his son Harrison. So Rita, John Lithgow has murdered Rita and made it look like a suicide, and she's in the bathtub with just all the blood everywhere. And Harrison, Dexter's son, is in the blood, just like he was in the blood of his when his mother was murdered. And okay, that's how you end a series. Like it's all come back to him. Like that was great. And then progressively after that, every season got worse. And
You
then
like the Jimmy Smits one?
I think Jimmy Smits was season 3.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then Lithgow was season 4. And then I mean they just got sillier and sillier and sillier. And then the last season was like, whoa. Not like I don't think this is the same show anymore. And Deborah, like, I didn't believe any of the things that were happening with Deborah. And then all of a sudden, it ends with the worst ending. And I just felt like you've wasted 4 years of my life.
Yeah, I feel very much the same way. I think a lot of shows, when they go on for too long, I feel like the writers, either they bring in new writers that don't respect or trust the history, or they want to put their own stamp on it, or they get bored and they just change it up. But I feel like I noticed this with, like, it's not quite the same, but the comedy show King of Queens. Like the last couple seasons of that show,
Why are you watching The King of Queens?
because it was it was playing like when my son was little, and it was something to
right.
do while. But that show just there was a warmth and a humor to a lot of the earlier seasons, and in the end they just became so bitter and nasty towards one another, the main couple. Like I didn't want to see them on my screen because it wasn't done in a good way. It was done with just, I don't know, it just polluted everything that come
Was
before.
there another spin-off after that? Was
Well, he had a show, Kevin Can Wait. It wasn't the same character though.
Oh, okay. And did he
And
always
that-
like okay, so Kevin Can Fuck Yourself or no?
Yeah.
That's where it comes from, right?
Well, the title of it, yeah, because in Kevin Can Wait, he had another sitcom, and he had a wife. It was a different character, but it was pretty much trying to copy and paste. But for some reason, the show never did well in the ratings, so they replaced the wife in a very unceremonious way. Like in between seasons, they write her off in such a just an awful way and joke about it. And it was just very disrespectful to the character, to the actress that was involved. And then they bring the actress Leah Remini that was on King of Queens, basically to sub in for the wife.
Yes, that's the story I heard. And then that was. Do you know the Kevin Can Fuck Yourself? Is it the same, some of the same writers, or was it just a commentary on that?
I know they got the actress for at least one of the episodes. I think it was a commentary on it. I don't know if any of the writers involved. I think they were inspired by it though. Just the idea of the quote sitcom wife, like
Right,
how
right.
she doesn't exist like in reality to the husband and then has a completely other like Breaking Bad sort of world on the other
Have you
side.
seen the whole season? I watched 2 episodes.
No, I got exactly 2 episodes in
Yeah,
and
so you got
I
past
got
the wedding
busy.
scene.
I got busy and I haven't gone back to it. And I don't think that for that show to work for me, I feel like both sides have to work.
I
The
agree.
the
That was my
comedy has
problem with
to
it too.
work because the comedy, I'm just like, this is not very funny. And they could do it in a way that it is funny because the earlier seasons, Everybody Loves Raymond. That's a good example. That's a funny show. I mean, your mileage might vary, but
No,
it's
I think Everybody Loves Raymond is a classic sitcom.
right. So you can do the same thing. You can do a show that like respects the good parts of a sitcom and also presents the drama. But man, I mean, that's just what they wanted to do, I suppose. I don't think they're trying to write it good, the comedy parts.
Well, right, and that was my problem with it as well.
Yeah.
I understand that they were saying the comedy is stupid,
Yeah.
and that was the point, but I don't want to watch it where half a show is stupid.
Yeah.
So I just unplugged right away.
I'm either full stupid or no stupid.
Yes, that is pretty much how I feel. So, last thoughts on what you're looking forward to in 2025?
Just, you know, growing the community, having fun on the podcast. It's been fun. And, writing things again that I want to write. Yeah, like I said, I want to do my fantasy, but I also want to do something else. Like I would love, something in the available darkness sort of space. I don't know. We'll
Oh,
see. I mean,
we have something in that space.
okay.
And I was actually thinking about, so I have and we can do this live, upcoming episode, but I was actually thinking about these different things that we already have created and regenerate. So I don't want to mention the title yet, but we had something in the available darkness world that we did a couple of years ago for an exclusive somewhere. Remember that?
Yes.
Like that exists, that's ready to go. And I was thinking about which one of our properties would be fun to like kind of publicly work on as far as author velocity, and that's high on the list, so that might actually happen.
Cool. All right.
Well, I will say that it has been really great seeing you kind of regenerate
Waking
over,
up.
over the last couple of months. You've really started to spark, and it is really fun to see. So I'm excited about this show. I'm excited about the podcast, and I'm excited about shit that we'll do this year. I'm excited about working with you this year. I'm excited to make some new things. I hope we get a chance to write another script.
Oh yeah, I hope so. I forgot
Yeah.
all about that.
Yeah, well, we have a couple circulating right now, and there's one that Spencer is like, oh my God, he's very confident that he can get that one to the finish line. It's just that Hollywood was not really in the mood to buy. Oh, this is like actually a really nice optimistic mood or note to close on. So the sentiment in Hollywood has been, we hear this all the time, is that survive until 25, right? That Hollywood has very much been licking its wounds all through 2024, and that they're a corner has been turned. Like we've gotten, just in the last couple of months, we've gotten a couple things way further, like that we spent all year not getting really anywhere. And then all of a sudden we have some velocity, we have some momentum, and it seems like Hollywood is turning their lights on. And as far as our scripts go, and I know you know this, but this is kind of a fun thing to talk about. There was a lot of, hey, we're not looking for that right now. We're not looking for that this year that we would get back from scripts when they made the rounds. But 100% of the people that we send them out to, we get responses that are like, hey, we may not be looking for this right now, but please send us everything from these writers, whether it was me and you or Joel or me and Catherine, or the various different script combos that we had going out there, the writing reputation that Sterling and Stone is developing on our scripts is fantastic. So
That's good.
yeah, I enjoyed writing the few scripts that we've written together. And I do think that you have a more native ability to write scripts than a lot of novelists. And just for people listening, because I know a lot of you are novelists, it's hard. Even for Dave, who I do think is, you write a little bit lean when in the novel space, so that really lends itself where, like, I over describe. I do a lot of things that make it difficult for a novelist to transition. And that was your biggest one to grow on the scripts, is realizing that you can't give internal monologue. You can't tell the reader of the script anything that is not visual on screen. But once you crack that nut, like, the script writing was so fun. So I would really, really love, even if we're just playing, I would love to do a script this year.
Awesome. Okay. Well, what's your call to action?
Have we talked about our YouTube strategy at all?
No, not really.
You know what? That's great. So we already have next week's episode. We recorded it a while back for someone who has a book coming out, so we wanted to align that. But the episode after that, talking about our YouTube strategy in both Story Merchants and for fiction, I think it would be a great episode. So let's do that, and that means you'll have notes prepared before we get on.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Because our listeners deserve it, right?
Yes, they deserve that.
Okay, awesome.
Careful attention to detail that I'm known for.
We will see you all next year. Thank you so much for listening. Seriously, we wouldn't do this if it was just me and Dave talking. We've had a couple years to meet every Friday. We haven't done it. So it's fun to have an audience listening to what we're saying. It gives us purpose to say it. So thank you for being here, and I can't wait to spend 2025 with all of you.
Thank you.
The shadows of the Sunshine State, redacted is his home, lives a man named David Wright, who pens the great unknown. Diet Coke runs through his veins, a decoy wallet keeps him rich. Paranoia fuels his pen, and creativity's his niche.